afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? Thank you for joining the Madge Scholarship Foundation. My name is Kimon. I'm a board member. Today we're going to be talking about, discussing an amazing lady by the name of Katherine Johnson. Before we go in to discuss more information about her, I just want to give you some more information about the Madge Scholarship Foundation. It is a nonprofit organization, and the premise behind our group is devoted to helping students from all cultural and economic backgrounds to gain access to higher education. We feel that education can make a profound difference in an individual's life. Please visit us online at mlsf.org, where you can donate or you can obtain further information such as future events or events that we've done in the past. You can please follow us online on facebook.com, on Instagram, or we do have a YouTube channel. You can also visit us on YouTube. So there are women that have been trailblazers through time. Most notably, we have a woman vice president. She has gone through numerous tests and tasks in order to get to where she's at this moment. Now, we do know several women that are in our midst, and they do profound things to help others, to give to others, to help others. If you know a story about a profound woman that you want to share, go ahead and let us know on Instagram or on Facebook, okay? Now, there are some women that they make sure that when they cut the path that lead them into their dreams and their desires, that they make sure that the path for other women is much smoother, and the other women do not endure the trials and tribulations that they've endured. Now, the dictionary does define a trailblazer as a pioneer or a reformer, and that exactly is what Katherine Johnson is. She's known as the human computer. She's a woman of NASA. Now, just a little bit of background before we get into the story. In 1993, the United States federal government passed the Family Medical Leave Act, and the FMLA. Now, it does cover several things in regards to absences from work and how certain medical conditions can be handled. One of the acts that the FMLA does cover is that women can have guaranteed 12 weeks off, and their job is protected should their leave of absence be due to 1, having a newborn, or 2, adopting a child. Now, this act was passed in 1993. Now, Katherine has a similar story in which she chose to leave work to take care of her child. And we'll find out a little bit more about that a little later on. Now, in regards to Katherine, she basically wanted for women to have an easier path in life, right? So she motivated women and young kids from every path of life. She motivated them to continue to grow and continue to be your most powerful self. Now, one of Katherine's most notable quotes is, "Like what you do, and then you will do your best." And that is an amazing quote, and I love that quote. One of her other quotes is, "Girls are capable of doing everything men are capable of doing. Sometimes they have more imagination than a man." I don't know, but we'll see. Having a woman in the workplace definitely does bring a different dynamic into the workplace. And in Catherine's story, you'll see as well where her being in the workplace does bring a different dynamic, and she does help and bring forth different knowledge into the workplace. Now, Katherine, she served, I'm sorry, before we go in further in regards to Katherine, there was a movie that was done on her life, and I'll show you a tidbit of that a little later on. After serving NASA for 33 years, she retired in 1986. Some of her awards that she's accrued while working at NASA is the Lunar Orbiter Award and also the NASA Special Achievement Award, in which she won 3 times. During her retirement, she aimed to motivate students, as well as she loved doing puzzles and traveling. Some of her career achievements entail being named the Mathematician of the Year in 1997 by the National Technical Association. West Virginia State College awarded her Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in 1999. A STEM scholarship was named in her honor. And in 2015, President Barack Obama presented her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. A year later, in 2016, she was named, a research center was named in her honor, and the name of that center is Katherine G. Johnson Computable Research Facility. A movie was released documenting the journey of 3 women. That was in 2017, and the movie celebrated the life of Katherine Johnson, as well as Dorothy Vaughan, and as well as Mary Johnson. The name of the movie is called Hidden Figures. I'm going to play you the ending of the movie. Now, towards the ending of the movie, all the calculations, which I'll go into a little bit later, all the mathematical equations that was used to bring the astronaut into space was done by hand. And majority was done by hand by a group of women that they called a human calculator. So what a computer is you put in mathematical equations, and you can input the data, and thereafter it spits out the equation. It spits out the answer for you. Right now, I'm sitting in front of a computer, and this is all done electronically, and it's easier for me. I could just ask the computer to tell me what the response is to a particular question or a particular mathematical equation, and Google guarantees I'm going to get it in under a second. Well, before the computers before the computers that we have now, everything was done beforehand. Everything was done by pen and paper, and that's what Katherine did during her time. So in the tail end of the movie that I'm showing you, they had moved, the NASA program had moved from using women to moving to using IBM. And that was one of the first computers that was used by NASA at the time. The astronaut, Mr. Glenn, wanted to ensure that the mathematical equations was correct before he took off. And he said he wanted Katherine to review it. And because of the path that she's laid in regard to her accuracy, in regards to reviewing and her detail, he knew if she checked it and she said it was okay, it was good to go. So let me show you a tidbit of that movie. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I strongly would suggest this movie if you have the opportunity um, to see it. The name of the movie is called Hidden Figures. I just wanted to verify everyone can still see me. Okay. All right. Sadly, Katherine did pass away February 24th of 2020. Katherine was born Katherine Coleman. She grew up in the United States during a time of segregation and inequality. Her parents were forward thinking and installed their passion of equality in their children. Her father used to tell her, "You are no better than anyone else, and no one else is better than you." Katherine was born the 26th of August in 1918 in West Virginia. She was the fourth child of Joshua Coleman as well as Joylette Lowe. Her father was a farmer. He also served as a lumberman, a janitor, handyman during his working life. Her mother was a school teacher. Katherine's siblings were Horace, he was born 1912, Margaret, she was born 1913, Charles, he was born 1915. Katherine excelled, she excelled, and at the age of 5, she went straight into the second grade. By the age of 10, she was ready for high school, which normally a student would go in at age 13. She showed talent for mathematics early in life, counting everything around her, from dishes to the steps she took, and from the stars in the sky. With no school for Black children in her local area, Mrs. Coleman rented a house in Institute, West Virginia. Her four children could attend for her four children to attend high school on the campus of West Virginia State. So her mom knew in order for her for Katherine to excel at life, because she saw the potential in her child, they moved. And they moved to an area that Katherine could attend high school in West Virginia State College. At the end of the school year, they would travel back the 125 miles to spend the summer with their father, where he was farming. Now keep in mind, in those times, even though as Blacks, there wasn't slavery, the South was still deeply segregated. So to travel 125 miles, it's not like us hopping in a car and it's maybe a couple hours out of our day. It may have taken them a day or maybe even 2 days, or maybe even a bit longer just to go back home. Her father was a farmer during the time while she was in high school. Katherine graduated from high school at the age of 14. She also developed a love of astronomy. While walking home each evening with the principal, and he pointed out the stars to her. Upon leaving high school, Katherine gained a full scholarship in 1933 to West Virginia State College, which is now called West Virginia State University. At that time, The State College was a Black college, which was founded in 1891 as the West Virginia Colored Institute. Katherine took 3 subjects. She took English, took French, and mathematics. She decided upon a major of French and mathematics. In 1937, she graduated with a Bachelor in Arts in French and mathematics, and she graduated cum laude, which is the highest honor you can graduate from a university. With few opportunities for Black people in the United States to enter into mathematics research at the time, Katherine started teaching in an elementary school in Virginia. She wanted a research post, which at the time none was available. Katherine met her future husband, James Francis Goebel, and they married secretly in 1939. And the reason why they had to get married secretly was because married women were not allowed in the classroom at the time. In 1940, Katherine was asked to join the postgraduate mathematics program at West Virginia State University, which she accepted, but had to withdraw when she became pregnant with her first child. Katherine spent the next few years raising her family, returning to teaching when her children were older. Katherine and James had 3 daughters, Constant, Joylette, and Katherine, all of whom were mathematicians and teachers. In 1952, while visiting her family in Newport News, Virginia, Katherine learned that NASA in Hamilton hired Black female mathematicians. They hired women as computers since in 1935, because there was a shortage of manpower due to World War II. During World War II, a lot of the men from the United States were trained and sent away for war or for making of war equipment. So in order for the economy to continue, they had to use women. The occupation of computer meant that a person would perform mathematical calculations. Katherine and James moved their family to Newport News, where Katherine was working as a substitute teacher while she applied for NASA, and she did secure a permanent position in 1953. James secured a position as a painter in the Newport News shipyard. Again, this is during the time after, in 1953, it was shortly after World War II. We were still on the verge of getting our economy back, so all jobs were important. So his job as a painter, it sufficed to bring the financials into the household. At NASA, Katherine was assigned to the office that housed the Black women computers, the West Area Computer Section, and it was supervised by Dorothy Vaughn. Katherine read data from the black boxes of airlines and undertook all mathematical tasks. She was soon loaned to the Flight Research Division. They forgot to return her back. They were working on a top secret assignment. They were being pioneers of the space era. The Russians were attempting space flight, and NASA was supporting the United States military strategy. For 4 years, Katherine analyzed data from flight tests and worked on investigation of a plane crash caused by the wake of turbulence. Sadly, her husband James died due to an inoperable brain tumor in December 1956. The Soviets launched the Sputnik satellite in 1957, which was the first artificial Earth satellite. Segregation ended in NASA in 1958. That meant that there were no more, there wasn't separate areas for courtrooms or for cant areas for solely Black or solely white. But one major thing, women were not allowed to attend the briefings or put their name on research projects. Katherine worked in a division that created the equations needed to track the space vehicle. To develop the necessary mathematics and physics to advance their work. The males held briefings at which they discussed their ideas and knowledge in order to learn from each other. This is the importance of women. If you feel like your voice is not being heard, speak up and speak out, because this is what Katherine did. Katherine kept listening and asking questions about the briefing sessions. And eventually they let her into the briefings because they knew the importance of her being there. She needed to voice her opinion as well as to gain knowledge. Katherine provided some of the mathematics in the 1958 document, Notes on Space Technology, which created from a series of lectures given by the engineers from the Flight and Pilotless Aircraft Research Division. Katherine also broke the restrictions of women authoring research reports. Ted Sputnik, and she worked on determination of azimuth angle at burnout for placing a satellite under a selected Earth position. Talk about a name, huh? This report contained the theory necessary for launching, for tracking, and also returning the space vehicle to Earth. Before the report could be finished, Ted had to leave and go to Houston. He told his supervisor that Katherine should finish the report since she had done most of the work. With Ted's departure, the supervisor had no choice other than to comply. This was the first report of 26 reports that she also co-authored or authored. It was used for calculating trajectories, launching windows, and emergency return path for Project Mercury space flights, including those of Alan Shepard in 1961 and John Glenn in 1962. Katherine's work helped ensure that Alan Shepard's Freedom 7 Mercury capsule would be found swiftly after landing, using the accurate trajectory that she had established. When NASA used electronic computers for the first time to calculate John Glenn's orbit around the Earth, there was some nervousness about the accuracy of the data. And this is where the tail end of the movie that I played for you. So Glenn had asked specifically for Katherine to verify manually the numbers that were critical for this mission because of the reputation that she set forth. They required calculations of the output for 11 different variables to 8 significant figures. It took Katherine a day and a half to verify the data, but her confirmations of the figures gave John Glenn the confidence that his flight should proceed. Katherine helped calculate the trajectory for the 1969 Apollo 11 flight and the path for the Apollo lunar lander and command module. Her backup procedures and charts helped set a safe path for Apollo 13's crew return to Earth after the mission had to be aborted. In 1959, Katherine married James A. Johnson, a former U.S. United States Army lieutenant who was who was a Korean War veteran and a United States Army Reserve member. She served NASA for 33 years until her retirement in 1986. I do have a few images for you of Katherine, and I'll share those with you as well. Just give me 1 second. So this first image is of Katherine manually calculating figures. So again, before computers, there had to be a mathematical, so basically they need to figure out, how do we leave from Earth to go to the moon? And in doing so, we have to take into consideration gravity, which is the Earth pull on everything on Earth to keep it still within the air. She had to calculate as well, once it has left Earth, the amount of speed, the amount of energy that it would need to take to keep the satellite up and for them to go around Earth, and then for them to come back. So that was a very huge task that was placed on her. The next, this image of her is of her during her earlier years. This image is of her in her later years. And this is when she was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama. Thank you so much for joining with me today, and please do continue to visit us online at MadgeLewisScholarshipFoundation.org. If you have any questions, what questions do you have? Or if you want to go ahead and visit us online at Facebook or on Instagram, and tell us about a woman in your life that is a trailblazer. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a fantastic day.